Thank you for your time, everyone, today, for coming along. We're going to speak to you today about Green Claims Code. My name's Rachel Wenzel. I'm from Hertfordshire Trading Standards Service. On the call with me today is my colleague, Emma Hope. At Trading Standards, we have two sides to our service. There's the enforcement side, and there's also the business advice and support side. And obviously we're coming from you today from that side. So the ethos of that team is to support business and work with businesses to achieve compliance across the county. Have the next slide, Emma. So I think we need to start by looking at what is a green claim. Green claims are everywhere at the moment. They're very important to businesses and consumers alike. They can be explicit or implicit, and they can be everywhere and on everything. So green claims covers services, brands, businesses as a whole. You can find claims in corporate policies, on websites, marketing material, adverts, pictures, logos. They're literally everywhere. A green claim comes in various formats. You can have generic claims like recyclable, biodegradable, and then you have more specific types of claims we'll move on to later. The overall concept is that you're promoting that your product or service is less damaging to the environment than other competitors or previous versions of the same product. Greenwashing is the act of causing people to believe that your company, product or service is doing more to protect the environment than it actually is. Next slide, please, Emma. So this is literally me running around my kitchen for 2 minutes, my kitchen and bathroom, picking up products and looking at what claims they're making. I'm not at any point saying that these claims are correct or authorised. They're just an example of the wide-ranging products and claims that can be found on goods and services. Next slide, please, Emma. So the Competitions and Market Authority have conducted a literature review regarding green claims and found that 60% of consumers feel like they should be doing more to help the environment. So this is becoming really important to consumers now, with 20% deliberately choosing an environmentally friendly, sustainable product or service in the last year and changing their buying and purchasing habits. And I think we're only going to see this grow as time goes on. The green agenda is becoming more important to consumers, government, across the board. Next slide, please. So work on the green claims has really been led by the Competitions and Markets Authority, which is an independent, non-ministerial government department. The objective of the CMA is to make markets work well for consumers, businesses, and the economy as a whole. It has the power to tackle practices by businesses that harm consumers. They found that 40% of claims online could potentially be misleading. That 40% is a global figure. We fed into the International Consumer Protection Enforcement Network study on this. So that's nearly half the claims that people are seeing online are potentially misleading. So CMA have started to look at this as a big piece of work. In January 22, they did their first review looking at the fashion sector, and they were looking at brands that were making eco claims. And they have followed up with investigations, and it's in the public domain, so we can share this information. They are looking at George, Boohoo and ASOS and investigating claims that they were making on their clothing lines. So they are big companies that potentially have fallen foul and are being looked at and investigated. After this piece of work, they've moved on to looking at fast-moving consumer goods. Now, fast-moving consumer goods are what we use and buy frequently every day. So it's your food, your drink, household cleaning, toiletries. It's stuff that people use and repurchase often. Initial indications show that 91% of dishwashing products and 100% of toilet papers have some kind of environmental claim on their packaging. Next slide, please, Emma. So the CMA have developed what they're calling their Green Claims Code. And this is a set of practices that they believe that businesses should follow and understand, to help them understand and comply with their obligations under the pieces of consumer protection law, and give confidence to businesses that are genuinely green and doing the right thing to shout about what they're doing and make those claims. Emma, could you play the video, please?
Green credentials. They're worth shouting about, right? More people want to buy green than ever before, and businesses are responding. But as a business, you need to be sure your green claims aren't misleading. It's your reputation that's at stake. The CMA's Green Claims Code will help you stay on course and avoid misleading your customers. To follow the code, ask yourself, are your claims truthful and accurate? Businesses must live up to all claims made. Are your claims clear and unambiguous? Your customers should be able to understand the claims you're making. Don't confuse them with vague terms or phrases. Do your claims omit or hide important information? Your customers must be able to make informed choices and be given the full picture. Do they only make fair and meaningful comparisons? Products being compared should meet the same needs or be intended for the same purpose. Have you substantiated your claims? Make sure you provide evidence to back up your claims and that it's robust and credible. Do they consider the full life cycle of the product? That's its overall impact from creation to disposal. Use the Green Claims Code to get your green claims right. To find out more, go to gov.uk/greenclaimscode. Brought to you by the Competition and Markets Authority.
Thank you. Next slide, Emma.
Green credentials.
So the Green Claims Code is built on 6 general principles. So claims must be truthful and accurate. You must be able to live up to the claims you're making. Don't over exaggerate, don't over egg the pudding. Tell them what the claim is and leave it there. If you use vague claims like eco-friendly, sustainable, it suggests that the product as a whole is going to be green and there's no adverse effect. So we'll come back to that point a little bit later. Recyclable. So, for example, if your product is marked as recyclable packaging, if only parts of the packaging are actually recyclable, then calling it recyclable packaging could be misleading if, in fact, only the lid or the label can be recycled. Another example would be clothing, like an organic t-shirt. So if a t-shirt is labelled as organic, but closer examination shows that only the t-shirt is only made of 20% organic cotton, again, that could be considered misleading. You'd be better to say t-shirt made with 20% cotton, organic cotton. It's always best to be specific to avoid misleading. Another term you see quite a lot at the moment is combustible. And is it combustible? Can it be done at home, or does it have to go to an industrial unit to do that? The second point is they must be clear and unambiguous. Can a consumer understand what the claim is and what it actually means? At Trading Standards and Consumer Protection Law, we talk about the average consumer. So does the average person sat on a bus understand what your claim means? And are you talking about all or just part of your product? So when considering claims, it's good to be as specific as possible to avoid any confusion or misleading statements. You shouldn't omit information as well. It's actually a criminal offence to admit important information. So don't cherry pick or just focus on the positive aspects, especially if those positives are only minor. So if you were to look at, for example, a food product that says it's organic, it's sustainably farmed, if that product isn't in a recyclable package, you shouldn't be making claims such as it's better for the environment. Sing about what you're doing, sing that it's organic, shout out that it's sustainably farmed, but don't suggest that it's better for the environment if your packaging can't be recycled. You should qualify information that you give, and it should be easy to understand. So if you're making a statement, have some information on your label or your advert that will support that statement. If you've got a lack of space, you can link through to websites using QR codes. Always caveat claims wherever possible. Comparisons should be fair and meaningful. So you can compare your product to another product on the market, or you can compare your new formula to a previous product. But if you're doing that, it should be a like for like and a use for use comparison. The information that you're basing your claims on needs to be up to date. So if you are launching a product with a new formula to make it more environmentally friendly, and you've changed something, and you're claiming that it's more environmentally friendly than the previous product, that kind of claim is going to have a shelf life, because you can't keep saying it's better than the previous. Your claims must be substantiated. You've got to have the evidence to back up what you're saying. It needs to be robust, reliable, and credible. And this will help you form a due diligence defence if you're picked up and challenged by an enforcement agency at a later date. When you're making a green claims, the biggest mistake we're seeing at the moment is that people aren't considering the whole life cycle of your product. So you need to go right back to the beginning, looking at your component parts, how and where something's manufactured, how it's transported, how it's used and performs, and how it can be disposed of at the end of its life. So you need to consider the whole life cycle of the product. You can't say that, for example, making it a green claim on something that has been sourced from Africa, so has got carbon footprints for its transport, when those goods could have been sourced within the UK, for example. You can't make lower carbon statements and then have an asterisk saying excluding transport. So when you're looking at your claim, consider these principles, work through these principles. Can you fulfill all of these? Are you keeping within the spirit of the principles? Next slide, please. So this is for more of the kind of things that businesses need to consider. So again, look at your whole life cycle, look at the product as a whole, look at how your pictures relate to your words, because a green claim could be a picture. You might not make a statement, but the artwork could give the impression that it's a green claim. Make sure you're giving the consumer all the information. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. Shout the good, but also you need to be clear on any caveats of that. And if there are conditions to how the claim is being met, they should be made clear. Make sure any comparisons are fair and accurate and on a like-for-like basis. Next slide, please. So you need to look at what steps your business could take. consider how credible your sources are when the information is being sent to you. Challenge what your suppliers are saying to you, ask for the evidence, and keep records of that evidence so you've got it and you can show anyone who challenges you what you've based your claims on. There are third-party companies that do auditing of this kind of thing. So has the data been checked by an independent third party, for example? Train your staff to train people who are designing products, making adverts, speaking to consumers, so they understand the legal framework in which they have to work. Choose your wording carefully. Generic terms such as eco-friendly, green and recyclable, like I said, you need to consider the whole life cycle of the product. It is better and easier for a business to pick specific, tangible claims that you can back up. And again, always consider, what is the average consumer going to think looking at this product, looking at these words? Ensure that your data that you're relying on as well is kept up to date and that you're not relying on figures that were provided 4 years ago, for example. Next slide, please. There's a cost of getting it wrong. There are criminal offences under the Consumer Protection from Unfair Trading regulations, and it creates criminal offences to make misleading statements or omissions that causes a consumer to make a transactional decision that they may not have made otherwise. So if you've got two products on the shelf, one's got lots of claims, if the consumer makes a decision to buy that product based on those claims, you have caused the consumer to make a transactional decision, and therefore if the claims are misleading or there's omissions, then a criminal offence may have occurred. Businesses are protected as well by legislation. It's not as robust as consumer protection legislation, but there is protection for businesses, and that looks at misleading advertising and comparative advertising, so comparing two products from different businesses. The main difference with this piece of legislation is it doesn't make allowances for omissions, whereas consumer protection from unfair trading regulations has specific offences for omissions. The law doesn't stop you making claims. It allows businesses who have made genuine investment to benefit from their work. So if you've done it and you've done it right, shout it, promote your business using that. The idea of the legislation is to protect consumers. The ASA look at TV and radio adverts and non-broadcasting adverts, and they make rulings based on complaints about adverts. And if they deem that an advert breaks the code of practice, they can enforce that an advert must be withdrawn or amended. They deal with complaints from consumers, with businesses, and they also do proactive market surveillance work as well. So if you've invested in an advert, in a printed newspaper advert, for example, you don't want to go through the expense of having to change that. The same as your labelling. If your labelling's wrong and you get picked up, then an enforcement authority can insist that the product isn't supplied in its current form and that it will need relabelling, and to continue to supply with the existing label would constitute criminal offences. There's the advertising codes cover both broadcast and non-broadcast adverts, and the code of practice has a specific section that deals with environmental claims, and the guidance of that actually refers back to the CMA's Green Claims Code. So when you're looking at labelling adverts, you need to keep the Green Claims Code at the forefront of your mind, and at each step along the way, go back and say, am I in compliance with the code? Am I meeting the spirit of the code? You know, you don't want to have to go through the cost of packaging and labelling. Times are hard enough for businesses at the moment, without having to lose money by having to bin off packaging. There's brand reputation as well. You don't want to be going through social media and the mainstream media with criticisms about your brands and claims you may not have made. Next slide, please, Emma. There is support available to you as a business. Like I said at the beginning, trading standards, we have an enforcement side and a business support side. The whole ethos and purpose of our business support team is to work with businesses to achieve compliance, to offer support, to offer guidance, because legislation can be daunting and overwhelming. Nearly every business within Hertfordshire, regardless of size, are entitled to up to an hour of free support from our business team per year. And that can be accessed through the link on these slides that I presume will be shared later. So if you are looking to perhaps make your first green claim code or want to talk through the Green Claims Code, for example, an officer will be available to help and support you. Our published turnaround time is 3 working days, but generally, our officers respond very quickly. The Green Claims Code has got published information on gov.uk as well. That's got a guidance document for business and a checklist that you can work through. Business Companion is another website that is very easy to navigate and gives advice that is targeted to traders, which is very easy to read and digest. It's for a government website, it's actually a very, very good and user-friendly one. So that sort of concludes everything that I have to speak to you today about.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Fernando Centeno, Senior Innovation and Growth Specialist delivering Innovate UKH. I'm a sustainability expert within my team. And I will be touching upon a few of the topics that Rachel has presented. So I think that's good because I will have the opportunity to reinforce the message, but I will also broaden the scope to talk about what a business, an SME or startup or a business in general can do to comply with that guidance and to benefit from green claims in general. Okay, so just a brief presentation about Innovate UKH. We are a publicly funded program. We help ambitious, innovative businesses, mostly SMEs, with a strong commercial potential to improve the UK economy. We help them to accelerate the growth and achieve a scale. How do we do that? We help them in a number of areas or topics. The 3 main topics are exploiting and managing the business innovation, taking their innovation to the market, helping them to take the innovation to the market. We assist as businesses in sourcing funding and finance and entering new markets. How we do this? Through a number of measurable impact. In some cases, some of our clients are looking to raise equity or secure public funding, so we help them with invest readiness support. In some other cases, they are looking to expand globally, and we have a number of international programs that are looking at that. But also we can help around a number of topics, more common topics such as sales and marketing, strategy and growth, building partnerships, in my case, sustainability related topics as well. So When it comes to green claims, why businesses should be looking into green claims? Well, first of all, they need to work on a specific sustainability claims to then communicate them. But I believe that there is a case for purpose-driven businesses. There are a number of studies, such as this one by a center, that states that companies with a stronger sustainability DNA are more likely to deliver financial value and lasting positive impact on society and the environment. So as we can see, companies with a stronger sustainability DNA have a EBITDA margin around 20% above their peers. So there is I think we believe that there is a strong business case for sustainability. There are other benefits associated with financial benefits, such as the relationship between ESG, or environmental social governance, and the cost of capital. So companies with a high ESG scores has kind of a lower cost of capital when it comes to either cost of capital, cost of equity, or cost of debt. And ESG is becoming a mainstream for investors, so they are looking at the sustainability credentials of companies more and more. ESG materiality is sector agnostic, meaning that now every business in every sector should be looking at ESG. They are looking to access lower cost of capital, and high-rated companies with ESG high-rated companies have about market valuation and profitability on average. So there are many advantages associated to becoming more sustainable. For SMEs in particular, there are a number of internal and external drivers. One of them being preparing for current or future legislation. UK is enshrining mandatory climate disclosure for largest companies in law, with a phasing from 2025, and I think that will be affecting to SMEs at some point. There is currently a net zero procurement policy by the government that requires to produce a carbon reduction plan for bids over £5 million, but NHS is implementing this policy for all contracts by April 2024. So again, if you are in these supply chains, you will be affected by this. Rachel already touched upon consumer demand. Consumers are looking for stronger environmental credentials and are considering environmental credential in their purchasing decisions. And I will repeat much of this, but again, reputational risk is important to make accurate green claims. And another important factor is the talent. So around 3/4 of candidates are considering a company's social and environmental commitments before accepting a job. So there is, in my opinion, a strong case for sustainability based on all of this. I won't go into detail. Rachel already covered this. It's important to comply with the SMA guidance on environmental claims. Yes, as a refresher, these are the principles. I think it's important to consider the full life cycle of the product or service, and claims must be substantiated. And I will use the insight from one of our clients, Effie, on the common mistakes. Rachel already touched upon this, using generic terms such as eco-friendly, green, sustainable. And I believe that the most sustainable action is not purchasing at all. So it's important to acknowledge that there is an environmental impact associated to a purchase. So as an example, if you see now an advert by BP, for example, or Shell, they may be talking about their initiatives in green hydrogen or blue hydrogen and other clean fuels, but at the same time they have to talk about the oil and gas activities at the same time, not to mislead the general public. And they are doing that because of this guidance. Key messages: be specific. Rachel already touched upon that, and I would like to go into beyond that, into some specific case studies. So a tip is on how to navigate the complexity, and this has been shared by Ethid. We have been working with them. They recommend that brands approach the sustainability strategy from two angles simultaneously. So first is looking at the brand's overall impact, and secondly at the specific claims. And I will go into a bit more of detail in a minute. So how we look at the brand's overall impact. So we, as a business, we will need to assess the business environmental impact comprehensively, not only considering carbon emissions, probably the most popular standard at the moment or factor, but also looking at other aspects such as waste, pollution, biodiversity, resource use, and human health, for example. This will be an example of how to develop a roadmap towards minimizing these impacts to substantiate green claims. In the case of carbon emissions, so a way will be to measure the carbon now, and then to establish an action plan or a way to achieve the carbon reduction targets over time, with a commitment to align with the Paris Agreement 1.5-degree goal by not only measuring the carbon footprint, but also setting specific net zero targets, setting also an action plan to achieve those targets. And if a business wants to play safe, there are a number of third parties that can help you make credible green claims, and I will share more information on that in a minute as well. The second piece of advice is that once you have established your overall impact, you can then talk about the specific claims. So for that, you may want to look into your overall processes and look at whether you are sourcing renewable energy or doing other sustainable initiatives such as recycling at the end of life, recyclable packaging, and so on and so forth. So in this case, it's important to leverage independent certifications to know that which claims are appropriate to make and backed by scientific consensus on one hand, but also to show your brand's sustainability claims have undergone rigorous assessment and verification process. There is a cost to this, but I will share a few options in a minute. This is a case study, Borg and Overstrom. This is one of our clients, and we help them establish their sustainability roadmap around alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals, how to start measuring the carbon footprint, and so on and so forth. But to be totally honest, and you can probably identify some misalignment. We haven't helped them in their communication strategy yet. I noticed that on the website. As you can see, for example, on the sustainability page, they are claiming that they are producing eco-friendly products, sustainable manufacturing, greener operations. And if we reflect on Rachel's presentation, I will encourage this client to use different terms because, as we have noticed, these are too generic, right? How we can back up that the products are eco-friendly, or that they are working on a kind of greener operations and so on. I think they are, but there are other ways to describe that. Let me just jump in a minute into their website. maybe look at this case more in detail. I assume that you can see this, right? Yeah, okay, thank you, Emma. So I think they start with the overall impact, as Effie was suggesting, what is the overall impact? The overall impact is that they are trying to eliminate the need for single-use plastics by replacing single-use plastic bottles with their reusable bottles and water dispensers. So they are designing the water dispensers to be used in conjunction with reusable bottles, as you can see here. So they then go to make specific claims in reducing plastic waste, and they're backing up with more information. And I won't go into detail. They are going into making a specific claims around their water dispensers, how they're reducing the reliance on single-use plastic bottles, and so on and so forth. Sustainable sourcing as well in terms of recycling, packaging, and so on and so forth. But here we can see how they are going to third parties to substantiate or back up some of their environmental claims when it comes to the work with their supply chain. So EcoVadis is one of third-party verificators. And also, they also are certified by by ICO 14001 for environmental management systems. So that's a way to then substantiate your claims and make sure that you comply with the CMA guidance and so on and so forth. But again, I think that some additional work is needed to kind of comply with the guidance in terms of not using generic claims. So that's pending from my side. I had to get back to them and maybe have a piece of advice on that front. So beyond that, what other benefits SMEs can reap from becoming more sustainable and looking at green certifications? So there are a number of operational efficiency benefits, such as reducing cost, reducing energy, water, waste, and CO2. SME businesses can build better relationships with employees, with the government and regulators, but also with suppliers. There are reputational benefits, such as enhance brand image, minimize reputational risk, but more importantly, a competitive advantage, such as a differentiation from competitors and a capacity to attract investment opportunities. So the benefits are multiple, but the problem is, okay, for a business that has a clear idea of how to adhere to the CMA guidance, the question is the following. They can just read through the guidance and comply with the guidance, and that could be enough. But another way to look at this is maybe looking at third-party verifications. This is especially relevant for companies looking to get their sustainability credentials verified by a third party to attract either investor, customers, or both, or employees as well. But also, as I said, they may need to promote sustainability credentials in compliance with the CMA guidance. Sorry, but there are a number of third parties providers, and the problem is how to navigate this. The advice that I provide is in order for a business to choose the right green certification. One way to look at this is how you wish to align your impact with these certifications. Are you looking to align your sustainability impact with the Sustainable Development Goals, with environmental impacts such as carbon reduction, animal welfare, or fair trade and ethical labor? And you can see how different green credentials are looking at different impacts. And some of them are specialized or are working with charities, and some of their kind of more suitable for large corporations, but there are a number there in the middle, such as EFI, Future Fit Business, B Corps, Planet Mark, and so on, that are suitable for most SMEs. That will be a first step to look into these certifications. I'll talk specifically about the case study. One of our clients, Zero London, they have developed a revolutionary design and manufacturing technique that allows to produce high quality menswear without the waste. And they were looking to certify their credentials in order to increase credibility of the investment package in front of investors. So we helped them map out the sustainability credential based on impact and strategic fit. They were looking at the beginning mostly at social impact and carbon reduction goals. So we consider Planet Mark, but then in the end they thought that ETHI could be a better fit because ETHI is helping you to align with the very specific standards, and you can pick and choose what standard you want to align to. So that's a point in case. B Corp is also quite a reputed certification that is aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals and pretty much will be compliant with the CMA guidance, but so is ETHI as well. Sorry. Then there is another type of certifications that in this case for products, not necessarily for brands or companies. So this certification are looking to certify products, and there are a number of those, such as Carbon Trust, Organic Textile Standard, Fair Trade International, and so on and so forth. And again, it's a matter of looking at what impact are you aiming to achieve. Is it alignment with the Sustainable Development Goals? So we have ETHI for that. Is it a fair trade and ethical labor? Fair Trade International would be a good one. Or animal welfare or environmental. And you need to consider different aspects in order to choose the right certification. Another way to get closer to compliance with the CMA guidance is to look at standards, British standards or international standards. And the problem again is there is a number of them. How a company can narrow down the standards that are relevant to the sector or to their business. There is a infographic tool by BSI where a business can navigate through the different sectors and narrow down the relevant standards. In this case, for example, these are the standards for the food sector. You can see how as this standard may be relevant depending on what you're looking for to align with. More specifically, when it comes to net zero carbon reduction, plus 2060 carbon neutrality is a relevant standard that you could look at if that's something that you may wish to consider. I would like also to finish with a number of successful certified organizations, and again coming back to the business case for sustainability. Avocado is one company that has certified their mattresses in alignment with, for example, the global organic textile standard and some other standards. But when it comes to the brand, they are also certified with a climate neutral and 1% for the planet. And Patagonia is a case in point. Again, certified by B Corp and 1% for the planet. They have a massive reputation based not only on the credentials but on their ethos and their mission and vision. They recently announced that they will be sharing their profits. The one that they in the company are going to environmental and social causes with a value of $100 million. So that's another way to increase furthermore your reputation. And maybe one more local river for organic farmers. Again, they also have been certified by Soil Association Organic and B Corp and some other certifications. And I believe they are doing very well on that front. A summary for the business case for green certifications. The benefits are many, such as higher financial performance, reduced cost of capital, and other benefits beyond that, such as brand image, employee satisfactions. Depending on whether we are aiming to certify the organization, the products, projects, or going beyond that. And how to choose the right certification, there are a number of factors. Again, the impact that the organization is aiming to make, the sector in which the organization is operating. We need to look at how to communicate your sustainability story authentically. And I think there is now a kind of ongoing discussion between greenwashing and green hashing, and some companies opting for green hashing, meaning that they are not communicating their green credentials or the green initiatives. I think that shouldn't be the case, in my opinion. As long as you are authentic and you adhere to the CMA guidance, and there's a clear advantage to communicating your sustainability story. Finally, just to let you know how we help companies approach sustainability. So I help my clients in a number of topics, from sustainability strategy to looking at carbon reduction plans, sustainability grants and green finance, green certifications, and that's the topic of today, but also beyond that, networking ecosystems, how to expand businesses network and get to know other actors in their ecosystem. That's all from my side today. I would appreciate your questions, please, if you have any.